Hello, introduction number 60. Let's have a look. What do we have here? So we have an advantages outweighing the disadvantages. Now, if you remember what I said in, I'm not sure if it was 59 or 58, where some people were writing an advantage versus a disadvantage, or two advantages and two disadvantages. Not what it's saying. Do they outweigh? In this case, you have to have more on one side. So, that being said, let's take a look. Some experts believe that it is better for children to begin learning a foreign language, primary school, rather than secondary school. The advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages. So, what do we do for our introduction? We paraphrase. Some experts believe, according to some. Now, I've seen a few people here using scholars and specialists. You don't have to. That's not always the same thing as experts. All you have to do, according to some experts. Some experts believe, according to some experts. Then that'll save you. Some people are talking about specialists and all these other synonyms that don't quite work. Okay? So if it ever says, some people say, somebody does this, change it around according to some people, according to some experts, and that would be fine. Okay? So it's better, the benefits are more evident. Begin, start, children, learning a foreign language, bilingualism, language, tongue, advantages, positive aspects or benefits, disadvantages, negatives or drawbacks. That's pretty straightforward. So, what's our thesis? What's our main idea? Well, we say yes, the positive aspects of early language learning. And you'll notice later, I've changed a few introductions where people have put acquisition. Now, in ESL terms, in language terms, maybe you will know this, if you don't work in teaching. Learning teaching is not the same as acquisition. Learning implies that somebody is teaching you. So that implies some kind of formal setting. Acquisition, acquire, means you pick things up. So if you go and live in a foreign country, you will acquire language by hearing it around you and picking it up. So it's not the same as learning, which implies some kind of taught or teaching component, right? So learning, acquisition, not, in strict terms, not the same, okay? So, advantage one. Early language exposure is more likely to lead to mastery. The earlier you begin, the better. Added improvements to brain function. However, the disadvantage could well be for children, though research doesn't really show this, but again, unless you work in education, you will know this. There may be some confusion. It's like when children are quite young and you teach them different languages, there may be some confusion between their language and the foreign language. False friend words and all this kind of thing, And also you might overload the child with too much work, perhaps. But anyway. So let's have a look at our introduction and then we'll take a look at yours. Okay. So according to some, or according to some experts, the benefits to children of bilingualism are more evident if they start at primary school. This essay believes that the positive aspects of early language learning do outweigh the negatives. Answer the question. This essay will argue that early language exposure is more likely to lead to mastery. Added improvements to brain function also, whereas the only disadvantage may be confusion between native and foreign languages. Okay, now I wrote this introduction for an essay. This was quite a while back. I would probably change it now and make it a little shorter. But still, in general terms, that's pretty good as an introduction. Restate the topic. Answer the question. Do they outweigh? Yes, they do. What are they? Early exposure, blah, blah, blah. Okay? That's it. That's all that we need. let's take a look at our introduction. So, according to some specialists, okay, that's good, the same as experts, it is suitable. Now, that's not the same as better. It's close, but it's not the same, so I would change that. For youngsters to be taught a second language at elementary school rather than high school. Now, in our system, we've got primary school, secondary school, then high school. So you could say, but I think it's more talking about at secondary school. So primary school, it's like 5 to 8 or 9, and then you go into secondary. Anyway, in my view, the merits of this belief, such as that ability to tour, so you've got 2 plus, so that should be infinitive, that ability to learn faster because you're making a comparison, sorry, so you need a comparative, okay, to learn faster. And a sizable amount of implication. Now I put these question marks because you haven't, what are you talking about? And I think we didn't need that. Yeah, right. Sizable amount of implications, which are what? Outweigh the drawback, such as. Now, like means it's similar if it's an example, such as confusing words between the first and second languages, which is good. But what are these implications of which you write? You haven't said, so that's a bit confusing there. It has been argued by some experts that having students taught a second language, now this is a bit of a convoluted way of paraphrasing, that having students taught a second language would bring about better outcomes if it is during primary school, or if it takes place during primary school rather than secondary school. So that's a bit of a convoluted way of expressing that idea. Now, no idea what this means. Holding the view that the learning spin. No idea what that means. That's is nonsense. For a language starts from early ages. I believe it is better to teach children second language during primary school, with them not yet being fully immersed in their science lessons. So it's not as clear as it could be. Examiner, it's a bit convoluted, and this part here, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. It is believed by some experts that children should begin learning a foreign language when they are in primary school, rather than waiting to enter, or waiting before they enter, not waiting to enter secondary school. I consider being more capable of language learning. Now, I consider being more capable. So who is more capable? I consider that children are more capable. So that's incomplete. I consider being more capable of language. I've changed it to learning. As I said, acquisition and learning are not the same. At a, not in younger age. At a younger age, not in younger ages. And learning time management skills and the advantages now of this deed. What deed? This deed? In my opinion, these benefits outweigh the disadvantage of being under pressure. So that needs a bit of work there. I get the general idea, but it doesn't flow. It's not very natural, and there's some errors there. And what is this deed? What does that mean? Some experts believe it is more beneficial for the child to start learning foreign languages at primary school instead of secondary school. That is good. In my opinion, because of the great capacity of learning new things. Now, watch your prepositions at an early age, not in an early age, okay? Your preposition of place, at an early age, and having more time to focus on a new language could be advantages that cover the negatives now, which are what? There's some negatives. What are they? And negatives. So if you've got advantages and negatives, isn't that the same? Aren't we supposed to be saying one side is a stronger side? So that doesn't quite work there. Such is the importance of learning foreign language that it is upheld by many. What you mean? Some experts think. And it doesn't. Where does it say that? Where does it say? Oh, somebody driving past. Come on, get out of the fucking way. That's it. Right. Okay. Such is the importance of learning a foreign language. Well, okay, it doesn't really say that. That it is upheld by many. What you mean? Some people think that it's better for a child to be taught foreign language. Oh. Sorry, bit of noise from outside. To be taught a foreign language in elementary school rather than high school. From my standpoint, because of several reasons, including capacity of learning and having less limitations. I'm not sure what that means in earlier ages. I'm not sure what that means. What? Early ages? You mean when the children are younger, not in earlier ages? What? Are you talking about in Victorian times? In the Middle Ages? Or are you talking about ages of children? So that's not very clear. The benefits of this trend, well, it's not a trend. Can outbalance its possible drawback, which is what? What's the drawback? You haven't told me. So that doesn't really tell me a great deal. According to some specialists, it will be beneficial for young generations. Young generations are, well, right, for children. To, infinitive, learn another language at primary school rather than at secondary school. Don't forget, don't leave things out. I believe there are several advantages to this view, since children from an early age have a higher capacity for learning new things and learning foreign language, blah, blah, okay. But what's the disadvantage? You haven't told me. You haven't said anything about what that is. So it's again, does one side outweigh? You at least have to tell me what the disadvantage is. You haven't told me, so no idea. With a trait right now, this one here is too long, and the stuff here that it's not in the topic. Whether training materials of a second language. Where does it say that? It doesn't say that. It says some experts think kids should be taught. Now, you need training materials, presumably, but it doesn't say that. Should be introduced in primary schools curriculum or postponed to a later stage. It doesn't say that either. It's still an open-ended question among experts. It doesn't say that either. It doesn't say that. It says some experts think that you should do it at primary school rather than at secondary school. That's what it says. It doesn't say anything about materials, later stage. What does that mean? In the curriculum, does it mention the curriculum? It doesn't mention that. In my view, so I subscribe to the notion stating what you mean, I think. In my view, the benefits of earlier start of acquiring, or acquisition, I should say, which is not the same as learning, a foreign language overshadows its drawbacks. Attaining native-like fluency as well as better academic performance will be addressed as the two major plus points, followed by the possibility of posing negative effects on the learning of the mother tongue as the main downside. Far too long and overly complicated. Examiners don't like this. They like it clear and simple. So there's some stuff here that wasn't mentioned in the topic. If you want to put that in your body paragraph, okay. In your introduction, you don't need it. This is a very long-winded way of saying, I think this and this are better than this. That's it. That's all we have to say. You won't get any extra marks for overcomplicating things. In fact, the opposite is the case. According to some experts or scholars, now, a scholar is someone who is a scholastic, who reads, who kind of studies, not necessarily the same as an expert. You can be an expert on something, but not a scholar, so it's not quite the same. Foreign language acquisition, again, not the same as learning. Acquisition, you pick it up. Acquire. Learning is transmission via the teacher, so it's not the same thing. Should be initiated at primary school rather than secondary school. So that's just a couple of things, but apart from that, and foreign language, because it could be your own language. So foreign language learning, not simply language acquisition. In my view, more study pressure due to learning a foreign language may be overshadowed by the benefits of having sufficient time to master those components and acquiring native-like pronunciation. Okay, that's not too bad, not too bad. And I think we've got 2 left, and that's it. According to some specialists, learning a second language at an earlier age, before entering secondary school, is better for children. It would seems to me that the benefits of mastery in a new language and having a considerable amount of time to learn outweigh the disadvantage of having difficulties at an early age. Okay, that's good. Mostly parents are in, how can you be in an ambiguity? You can be ambiguous, or there might be an ambiguity about something, but you wouldn't find yourself in an ambiguity. And who said now, and again, who says this? Where does it say anything about parents in an ambiguity? It doesn't say that. The topic says, some experts say. What's it say? According to some experts say, some experts think. It doesn't say anything about parents. It doesn't mention it. Experts say blah, blah, blah. So that's not in the topic. Specialists who carries contradicted opinion. Now, some of the language here is not so good. I get your general idea, but the phrasing, the general English does need some attention here, right? Specialists who carries contradicted opinion. You mean somebody who thinks something else. Put them in a dilemma of beginning, whether in the elementary school or later on. What does that mean? I have no idea what that sentence means. No idea. And the examiner won't have an idea either. In my opinion, the sooner they start, the better result they will achieve. Okay, that is understandable. Whereas they might speak later in both languages, but they will have benefited to think in English as well as their mother tongue. That's more productive. So I'm not really sure. That's not very clear as to what the advantages and disadvantages are. That's not very clear. So the whole thing really is not very clear. It doesn't answer the question. It doesn't say this side is stronger. A paraphrase. It's got things in that's not in the topic. That second sentence, I've no idea what you're talking about. So, that needs a bit of work, I think. So, in general then, what can we take away? So, be careful with your paraphrasing. Okay? And make sure that if you say there are some advantages, tell me what they are. If you say there's a disadvantage, tell me what it is. Don't say, oh, and by the way, there's a disadvantage. Which is what? Put it down. Paraphrase. Some experts think blah, blah, blah. In my view, the benefits of 1 plus 2 are greater than the disadvantage of 1. That's it. 2 sentences. Clear, concise, and to the point. Okay? So, after this, we're going to stop doing these essay introductions. We're going to get on to task 1, academic task 1. So we're going to be looking at the charts, the maps, the process, the data ones. Okay? That's what we're going to be focusing on next. So, hope this helps. I'll see you for the next video.